Before he was dropping 40-point triple-doubles. Before the MVPs, the championships, the rivalries with Magic, Larry Bird was picking up trash, literally. In the quiet town of French Lick, Indiana, basketball wasn't even a priority. Survival was, work was, life was hard. And for young Larry, the NBA wasn't even a dream, it was a fantasy. This is the story of how a shy, poor kid from a tiny town became one of the greatest to ever play the game. And trust me, you've never heard the full story like this before. French Lick, Indiana, population just over 2,000. A small, forgotten town surrounded by cornfields, factories, and poverty. That's where Larry Bird was born. Not into fame, not into opportunity, but into struggle. His father, Joe Bird, was a Korean War veteran and factory worker. The family lived paycheck to paycheck. Money was always tight. The Bird family had to fight for every dollar, every meal, every chance. Larry wasn't flashy, wasn't loud. He didn't have new shoes. He didn't travel for AAU, but he had one thing: work ethic, that Indiana blue-collar DNA, and it showed early. After high school, Larry tried to make it out. He enrolled at Indiana University, recruited by the legendary Bob Knight. But the size of the campus, the culture shock, it was too much. He dropped out after just 24 days. He didn't go pro. He didn't transfer. Instead, he came back home, back to French Lick, back to reality. And, for a time, he worked as a garbage man. He was out before sunrise, hauling trash, sweating through his shirt, making $3.25 an hour. And you know what? He loved it. It was good pay, it was outdoors. You got a ride on the back of a truck, and you were done by noon. Think about that. One of the greatest players of all time was ready to settle into life as a garbage man. That's how far away the NBA felt in that moment. After walking away from Indiana University and spending nearly a year hauling trash back in French Lick, most people assumed Larry Bird's basketball career was done. Small town, small school resume, no national buzz, no press, nothing flashy. But Larry wasn't done, not by a long shot. He quietly enrolled at Indiana State University, a program that at the time had no basketball tradition, no national rankings, and no NBA scouts walking through the doors. It was about as far from the spotlight as you could get. But for Bird, that was perfect. No hype, no cameras, just the gym, the game, and that burning desire to prove everyone wrong. And then, he started dominating. Silently, relentlessly. Game after game. Opponents didn't know what hit them. His jumper was pure. His court vision was genius. His confidence, unshakable. By his junior season, Indiana State, yes, Indiana State, went 33-0 heading into the 1979 NCAA championship game. Suddenly, this quiet kid from a town nobody knew was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. And who would be waiting for him in that title game? A charismatic, 6 feet 9 inches point guard from Michigan State named Magic Johnson. That matchup, Bird versus Magic, wasn't just a game. It became the birth of modern basketball. Two polar opposites, one black, one white, one loud, one silent, one from the big stage, one from nowhere, but both destined for greatness. That game drew the highest TV ratings in college basketball history. And even though Bird lost, the world had seen enough. He didn't need a title. He didn't need a spotlight. Larry Bird had just announced himself to the world, on his own terms. No hype machine, no viral clips, just pure, undeniable greatness. By the time the 1979 NCAA championship game ended, the whole country knew the name Larry Bird. But long before that buzzer sounded, the Boston Celtics had already taken a gamble, a big one. See, the Celtics drafted Bird a year before he was eligible to play. Why? Because even though he was still in college, they believed this small-town silent assassin was the future of the franchise. Red Auerbach, the legendary Celtics GM, saw what others didn't. While other teams passed on Bird because they didn't want to wait a year, Red said, "We'll wait. He's worth it." And oh, was he right? From the moment Larry Bird stepped onto an NBA floor in 1979, everything changed. He didn't talk. He didn't flex. He just hooped. Hard, smart, relentlessly. He averaged over 21 points, grabbed 10 boards, dropped dimes, and played lockdown defense as a rookie. And that Boston team, the year before Bird, they won 29 games. With Bird, they won 61. That's not a boost. That's a revolution. One man changed the entire franchise, not with speed, not with bounce, but with mind games, shooting touch, and an unstoppable will to win. What made Bird different wasn't just the numbers. It was the way he saw the game. 2, 3 moves ahead. He'd call out a play before it happened. He'd tell his defender where he was going, then go there and still score. He once told a rookie, "I'm going to get the ball right here, turn, and hit it in your face." And guess what? He did. Over and over and over again. Veterans couldn't rattle him, rookies couldn't hang with him, coaches couldn't figure him out. And by the time he was in his second season, he was already the smartest player on the court, every night. And then came the rivalry that changed basketball forever. Bird versus Magic, Celtics versus Lakers, Blue Collar versus Hollywood. And it started with a rematch of their NCAA showdown, this time on the biggest stage, the NBA Finals. Every time they met, it was war. And every time Bird stepped onto the floor, he delivered. Clutch shots, big rebounds, no-look assists, trash talk so precise it was like poetry. Magic once said, "Larry Bird is the only player I feared. Not because he was flashy, but because he was deadly. Every time he had the ball, he could beat you." By the mid-'80s, Bird was the face of the league. 3 straight MVPs, 3 rings, and a legacy that transcended numbers. He didn't jump out the gym, he didn't sell sneakers, but he won, and he made everyone around him better. Because Larry Bird wasn't just a great player, he was the standard. From being overlooked to overwhelming, from hauling trash to hauling in trophies. Larry Bird's NBA arrival wasn't just a breakout, it was the beginning of a basketball dynasty. But it all started in silence. No hype, no spotlight, just work, just belief, just Larry. Through all the fame, the rings, the MVPs, the sold-out arenas, and unforgettable rivalries, Larry Bird never changed. At his core, he was still that same kid from French Lick, the garbage man, the worker, the grinder. Even when he was the best player in the league, he played like he had something to prove. He didn't rely on flash. He relied on fight. He didn't care about being liked. He cared about winning.
After we won the championship in '81, I feel like we had a good enough team where we could start a destiny and win a lot of championships.
And he did whatever it took to make that happen. Bird wasn't gifted the game. He built it, hour by hour, shot by shot, repetition, repetition, repetition. His jumper wasn't just beautiful, it was engineered. He once said he'd shoot 500 free throws a day, until it felt automatic. I wasn't the most athletic, so I had to be smarter, tougher, sharper. I had to outwork everyone else. He didn't out-jump people. He out-thought them, out-hustled them. He won the mental game before the ball ever tipped off. And let's not forget the trash talk. Larry Bird wasn't loud, but when he spoke, you listened. He wasn't out there to entertain. He talked because he meant it, because he knew he was better. He'd tell you the shot he was going to take, then hit it in your face, just to remind you he could. That wasn't arrogance. That was mental warfare. And Bird? He never lost a battle. Later in his career, the toll started to show. His back was destroyed. Years of diving on the hardwood, taking charges, lifting teammates, his body was breaking down. During timeouts, he'd lie flat on the court just to manage the pain. But still, he played. He battled. He gave everything he had, because that's who Larry Bird was. He once finished a game with both ankles sprained so badly he couldn't walk to the locker room alone. And yet, he dropped 34 points. He played to win, always. Larry Bird never saw himself as a star. He saw himself as a worker, as someone who was lucky to play the game he loved and owed it everything. He wasn't trying to be marketable. He wasn't chasing the spotlight. He was just a basketball player through and through. When he retired, the league lost a star, but it gained a blueprint, a lesson in how to turn grit into greatness, how to lead with effort, and how to let your game do the talking. From garbage runs in French Lick to the bright lights of Boston Garden, from a scared freshman dropping out to one of the most feared, respected players in NBA history. Larry Bird's story isn't about athleticism or natural talent. It's about work, grit, belief, and never letting your humble beginnings define your ceiling. So what do you think? Would today's world have recognized Larry's greatness? Or would the garbage man from French Lick be overlooked in the era of mixtapes and social media hype? Drop your thoughts in the comments and by the hoop. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more untold stories of basketball legends, underdogs, and icons who refuse to be forgotten.